Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler, and I am live in San Francisco, California. I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and down in LA, still, is Jon
Yeah,
Reed. What's up?
still here.
I know.
No, wait. No, I'm here. And this is not, it was just really late. The show was actually really good, but I'm really tired because it's late. Anyway, yes.
Yeah,
Hi. How's it going?
it is late. Unless you're on the East Coast, then we shouldn't be complaining about anything. But
You should be waking up for work right now if you're on the East Coast.
yeah, crazy. That's really irresponsible.
We'll catch you in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast, and we are covering Gifted, and we just got done with our Runaways. This is our first back-to-back showing dedication, and I will pay for it at work tomorrow, but that's okay. I'm an adult. I can deal with these decisions.
Yes, as in the Gifted,
at work.
you will pay a high price for whatever you have. Yeah, this was a good episode of the show. Like, I loved all of the Wonder Twins stuff happening in the Gifted right now. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and they like jumped right into it. We got this little flashback scene with Reed Strucker, and they're having a little picnic, and he wants to show his sister how to like ride the skateboard, and they do the little, high five, holding their hands thing, and we get the light, and they wasted no time into going that, which was good because this show at times where it's not a major complaint, but my minor complaint was it was kind of dragging at times, and it feels like the last two episodes have really picked up. We had a break last week, but I thought this show moved pretty well, and it's cool how they're showing their powers, and it's cool that they're finally actually having superheroes show their powers. Yes. And I don't know, do we even bring up the last episode that the Cuckoos or
yeah, so you may have missed that. You were doing it with Melissa. Esme from the Cuckoos it was introduced, which is huge. I mean, she's, I would say, probably in like modern X-Men, she's probably the highest profile character on the show now.
Yeah,
which is very interesting. So it was really cool to see her introduced. I just wanted to throw back to the beginning that you were talking about. What the heck? This happened before the premiere, where everyone's shocked that everyone else is a mutant, yet they have this like crazy moment in the park. Like, I don't know, man. Like, this seemed a little bit like retconning the origin to me for the sake of like a one episode story. I felt like a lot of things in this episode actually were like reset buttons on aspects of the show for the sake of, it seemed like just this one episode. So maybe it's for the sake of going forward, but it also seemed like they wanted to do certain things in this episode. And
it was probably because of the break, I was thinking. So they it's how Hollywood views audiences, and they're right most of the time that sometimes we're slow in the uptake. I'll be the first to admit it. And yeah, since they figure, hey, it's been a week, and maybe we'll be getting some new people jumping on from they reshowed the first episode last week, so we'll do a little reset. But I don't know, they kind of cover that in the. Sometimes I don't like it when they go, last time on The Gifted, and they show those scenes. I really don't like it when they do it on Game of Thrones, because it kind of spoils what's going to happen, especially if you read the books. And I don't know, I feel it teases too much. I like just going right into the episode, but I thought it was cool that it showed it, and it did explain a little bit. Andy's like, that's when I started messing up at school, when it did that. I don't want to get too far in the episode, but this whole plan, it felt like to me like it was being rushed, and we see why this whole plan being rushed is they found out what was it, Pulse died, and they found out they have a bunch of mutants. Dr. Campbell has a bunch of mutants contained, and he's controlling them somehow. It's the Hound program, which Dennis was talking about.
Yep.
And I'm sure he'll be very happy that he was right. And one of the Cuckoos wants to get back, with the rest of them, and she's manipulating the whole thing, the whole way through. And nobody's caught on to this yet. Now, I want to go to that little dream sequence that we had with Polaris, which was really cool. And I knew it was the Cuckoos, but I was like, man, wouldn't this be great if this was like Professor X trying to contact her or something like that?
Or like the pregnancy, like the baby has some
that would be cool.
power. Yeah, I thought that there was some weird, cool stuff they could have done there. So did they explicitly? I don't know. So they've basically, like, Esme is trying to get back to, like, she's what's her motivation here? Have they like revealed that clearly, or?
Well, I always got the impression that they needed to be near each other at all times. They're like,
Yeah, okay.
they're not really. They're
hive mind of
psychically,
sorts.
yeah, they're hive mind. They're psychically connected. So,
yeah.
What were they were in the Morrison run, right? Was it the Morrison run?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that
run.
was a good run. That was a long time ago when I read that.
Well, yeah, but I'm hoping they bring Quentin into this. Like, that was the character I thought was made for this show. Like, Quentin Quire is built for this kind of anarchist mutant uprising, right? Like, he's perfect for it. He needs a foil to work, right? Like, he needs the Magneto was right, the person that's gonna like question that, the person who's gonna be like, you're an idiot. But the rebel aspect of Quentin Quire. So it was interesting when they brought Esme in, because it's opened up this possibility of characters from the Morrison run, and then that's really exciting. And like, Esme was always the rebel of the Cuckoos, right? Like, she was always the one that wanted to stand out. I think she dyed her hair to not match them, and she always stood in front of them when things are going down. Like, she's always been the one to try to be the leader of the Cuckoos. So it's pretty cool. She's a great actress too. I think she's great at it.
Yeah, maybe we'll see them next episode. I'm hoping so. So with Andy Strucker, they start going into one thing I do love is Reed and Kate decide to tell their kids and not do like, don't do the secret thing. Don't go CW. Like, maybe we should keep it a secret from our kids that they're the most powerful mutants ever, or level 5 mutants or whatever the hell they are. And they decide to tell them, which is good. So they go and they find an old magazine or book and they look it up. Andy looks it up and they find out what they can do. And they mention the Hellfire Club. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's the kind of stuff.
Those are the eggs we want dropped. Those Easter eggs.
Yes, that's what keeps me involved in this. That you don't have to show things all the time, but just remind me that it's all in a larger universe. And I don't know, I actually hear some people are sick of that. I am not. I love that's what the Marvel universe is. It's connected. That's what makes it different from DC. And I like it when they do that. And I don't know what's going to happen in the show, but if the Fox Disney deal goes down, I mean, that's a whole new ball game if that goes down. And I'm excited about it. Not excited about Disney owning more entertainment properties, but
well, that's the thing. It's like, I think Disney, specifically getting the X-Men and Fantastic Four back into Marvel Studios is like great. I don't know what the cost of that is. Not money, but like with Disney getting all these other things and Fox going away as owning all these like movies and TV shows. I think that's kind of dangerous. Like, the consolidation of content is dangerous. But in this particular instance, I'm still rooting for it because I'm such a big X-Men fan that I want to see Marvel Studios do X-Men right. Right. So like, to me, that's worth the cost of like a huge monopoly being formed. and like, that's the only thing that I would ever be okay with.
I know, yeah. The comic industry itself might die because of it. We've already seen Disney pull crap like canceling the Fantastic Four because they don't have the rights, and suppressing the X-Men, which arguably has been the best-selling comic of all time, best-selling title of all time. It was one of the number one selling comics for like 20 or 30 years straight. And they suppressed that because they didn't have the rights. And, that really pissed me off.
Anyway, but actually, to what your
Fox
point,
is doing good stuff right now.
Agreed. The connective tissue of The Gifted, how do you think it compares to the way CW does it? Because the CW drops, like, they bring villains in all the time. Like, every episode you get a new character from the comics, and it's like there's usually like a little tweak to the character. They've got like the 52 Earths, and they introduced a 53rd one with the Crisis on Earth X. They do all these things that show that all this stuff is connected in the CW universe, but it's done in a very different way than they're doing it in the Gifted, right? Like, it's much more of a like a driving force of the show, right? That's the point of the show, is to introduce all this stuff, and the story kind of is at the service of doing that. Whereas The Gifted, like the story is this like oppressed group rising up, right? Like that's the general idea of what's going on in The Gifted. And so the Easter eggs they give us, the connective tissue to a larger universe, isn't to service that. It's there to as like a nod to this, as like a world building exercise, or a way to keep fans like understanding what aspects of the universe are being carried over into the show and what aren't, right? So like it serves a very different purpose. What do you feel like? Which one do you prefer? Like what do you like? Where are you on all this? Do you not care? Like either way, you're fine.
I'm okay as if because of Polaris. Polaris connects it for me. Seeing her being done well, that makes all the difference in the, and Thunderbird too. Thunderbird's done well too, because when I first heard the show was going to come out and they said they were going to just make up some X-Men, they came to their senses on that one. I wasn't too sure about it, but I've been pleasantly surprised. Now the way CW does things, I think what, you know, not to go too far down the road on that one, is just for me anyway, is I think I just watched that show to see all the superheroes they were introducing. I really loved Arrow season 1 and 2. Really loved Flash season 1. But what kept me going was just seeing new heroes. But like once we get them introduced, it's just like, is that why I'm watching the show? Just
well, that was exactly it. Like,
yeah,
the Arrow was, here's a list of supervillains you're going to go kill now, and then each episode he would like get a new one on his list and scratch it off. And the Flash was like, oh, this big thing exploded, and now there are metas. You need to round them up and contain them. And so it was like every week they found a new meta and then tried to contain it. So like the whole purpose of those shows was week to week to introduce a new character and then deal with that character and move on to the next one.
And then contain them illegally. But that always bugged me, by the way. No, this one, we see the oppression happen in this show. We see the oppressing happen, and we see our ragtag group of mutants, but we still haven't seen why or heard why. We're getting more and more. Dr. Campbell's messed up. He's in the hospital. What did he say? He got a bunch of burns and he doesn't want them fixed.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So we're getting more and more. They finally, brought back their little Sentinel spider slayers in it. And
this one was Super Sentinel Spider Slayer.
Yeah.
That's a lot of S's.
Yeah, that's a lot of S's there. This one was more superhero too. But let's go to, with Reed having his X gene suppressed, being a little, he's fixed now. That could be a title for one of the episodes. Fixed.
Oh yeah. Can we just hold on, because you just did that? We talked about getting to the bottom of the barrel, and tonight was the first sign that they're already almost there with outfoX with an X on the end. Just visually, it looked terrible, but also like outfoX, like really, that's like, oh my God, it's so bad. Like the episode titles are just getting worse and worse. It's just crazy. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, that's where I was going with that one.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so bad.
It was really, yeah. They got to stop doing that. Okay, we get it. It's an X-Men show. You didn't call it you didn't call it Exiles, which you should have called it. Or I don't know why you called it The Gifted.
Exiles. Yeah, you're right. The more that the show goes on, the more like it should have been called Exiles. Like they're in exile. And like, it's not exactly the point of the show, but like one of your main characters is Blink, another one's Thunderbird. Those were main characters of Exiles. It's just so weird to me.
I think they wanted to call it. My guess is they wanted to call it Exiles, and Fox told them no. They wanted to do a movie or something. That's probably what, like we talked about last podcast. A lot of things in Hollywood, as they are, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
It's a fucking duck.
It's a fucking duck. And there goes monetization, but that's okay.
Sorry.
We're so, no, don't even worry about it. I'm not. I just lost a nickel.
Hey,
we just lost a nickel.
So what let's see. Can we talk about the Fenry stuff? Because we only have a half an hour because it's so late. I just want to talk about the biggest moments of this episode. And the Fenry stuff to me was the first signs of massive power being brought to this show. They've been kind of depowering a lot of people, right? Like they had Polaris in a collar for half of the season. We've had Blink trying to figure out how to, she's very weak as far as Blink is concerned right now. She could be opening portals all over the effing place. Although they did do in the last episode that cool thing where he jumped in from a portal right behind the guy. That was awesome. So, I feel like they're kind of bringing the power levels down, but with the Fenry twins, when the Strucker kids, hold hands, it's they did such a good job of like showing the magnitude of what that could be, and having these two kids being like, I wanted to destroy everything and we could have done it. And it felt good, like I like where they're going with that aspect of those twins because they're such goody goodies, but they have the need. They're like vampires, right? Like they need to hunt when they're connected like that. So like the real power comes with this double-edged sword for them. And I don't know. I just thought they dealt with it really well in this episode.
And how I did too. And by the way, we see what the whatever they do with the titling, it looks like when they're like tearing apart reality, basically, or whatever building they're in. You can see the same graphics for around a gifted all those little square light up squares or whatever. That's what it looked like to me anyway when they're inside that vault and they were doing their powers for the first time. Yeah, and it was like a drug, and it got me thinking. Like it's such an interesting premise that I hope they stay on this. Like teenagers, post pubescent teenagers getting powers and how freaking irresponsible they are. And, Andy's kind of a dumbass, and he is a dumbass, but I mean, he's also, what is he, 14, 15 in this?
Yeah, it's 15, 16.
We all were at that age. And that's it's like containing them. And well, I was going to ask you, with Reed, with his X gene being suppressed, do you think they'll ever come to a point where like it won't be, or do you think he's suppressed forever?
I think that they could unleash him at any time. I think that they like having that bullet in their in the chamber, right? And it's chamber. Hey, he'd be good. They've got a bullet in that chamber, and they're just waiting. So I think, I think that we're going to see Stephen Moyer do more than just act stiffly. He may actually get to throw some power around at some point. Hey, I'm going to be the Stephen Moyer basher this week because he was terrible in this episode. His ADR is the worst I've ever heard. It's just the worst.
It was bad this episode. It was Thunderbird had one that was just like I thought I was watching a Godzilla movie. In the beginning, did you catch that where they cut away from him and he said something when his mouth didn't move?
Yes.
And so
it happened twice.
And they had 2 weeks to get this episode out, guys. Come on. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I just think it's really weird that it's only with him too. So it's very strange. But anyway, that's a tangent. Reed is still terrible, but everyone else is pretty good. This show is like stayed on this pretty good level after I think the first few episodes to me were like really great. And they set the tone for what we were going to see. And it's become like a good TV show since then. It's not, I don't think it's matched the promise of what it had at the beginning. Or maybe it's just like, I don't know. There's something about what's happened since then where it's just kind of stayed at this level of like fun, good, interesting TV with a message, right? Like that's what they're trying to do. And they're doing it pretty well. But it hasn't, even though there have been huge moments in every episode, it hasn't like elevated itself to like, outside of its like, it hasn't gotten outside of its growing pains yet, I don't think. And what do you think, Gary? Do you think it ever will get to that point where it's like solid, like really, really solid? Because there are always little things in each episode that are a little bit network TV for me. And I'm hoping that it kind of gets away from that a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I put in my notes is I think the thing holding this show back, and I love Burn Notice, and Burn Notice took time to get going for me.
Yes.
So I think it's kind of the same thing, but I am always skeptical about Fox and how much they're going to put into a show, especially with the things that are going on right now. I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure because, you know, it just, I feel like they're going to get screwed. There's going to be some weird scheduling change or something like that. And it'll never get its feet under it because it could. It has great potential. And I know Matt Nix is a great showrunner. He can do it. But I put down that like this show would be a great show in 2009. It still feels like it's formulaic. It just feels dated in some aspects with like I said, with its formula, and you can't make TV like that anymore. We're watching Runaways on the same night, and you know, I was just you know, today when I was doing some work, I was watching Daredevil again, season 2, and you can't even compare these shows. I mean, they're like in another world. And
for those who aren't watching it, Runaways is this very nuanced telling of the comic book story, and it's getting a little bit off the comic book now, which is, but it's very nuanced and interesting and layered. And The Gifted doesn't have those same layers. Like, it's fun, it's energetic, the powers are cool, the characters are cool. The idea of this rebellion we've seen before, but they're doing it justice. But yeah, you're right. It hasn't like broken out of anything. It still feels very contained within Fox, and maybe it doesn't need to break out of that mold, but it needs to break out in some big way. Something big needs to happen on this show right now.
Yeah,
like, it's huge.
It's not bashing the show, but it needs an identity. It needs to stand out somehow. Like, I brought it up last podcast. I could not believe that I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched the premiere of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know it was on Friday night and it was 2 hours long, but it was pretty good. And it was good. Like, okay, where the hell was that a couple of seasons ago of just like turning a show upside down? It's still got some of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff that it's kind of mildly annoying. In their
first seasons, they have to go big. Go big or go home, right? And you can settle into this maybe in a second season or whatever, but I feel like right now The Gifted should be having big ass X-Men battles at the end of every like third episode, and like really big power developments within the episodes that they don't get that, right? And I felt like we were getting that at first with like Blink getting sick and doing all the Blink portals, and like it seemed like it was going to move at that pace, and then it just kind of like leveled out.
They do that, and then they cut back to Reed and Kate asking Reed if he's okay for the 87th time. You know, it's like, he's okay. he's fine. You know, and I know they need to put that stuff in. It is about the family, and their story is getting way more interesting, and the kids are getting way more interesting. This was their breakout episode. So I think this is the change that, you know, for one, like just an amped up mutant. And you know, I love when Andy was the one who decided like, hey, we're going to bring down this whole building and kill everybody when they get caught. And you know, their plan was stupid. Their plan, I'm like, you know, there were no surprises in this episode, okay, but it was still good, except for Dreamer going out to battle with her heels on and her nice jacket. You know, it's like, I mean, like, I don't know.
Her costume, I guess
I guess it's her costume. Then put on a goddamn costume. Okay, you're gonna be running around and like she, you know, it looks like she just got out of, I don't know where people shop for clothes. I don't know where my wife shops for clothes. Yeah, Forever 21, right? And I'm a nerd. Okay. Shop for clothes, my comic shop, and on Amazon.com, right? Yeah. And my wife buys my clothes for me. So,
right? Yeah, ask her where Dreamer.
I was just like, he is looking way too fashionable to go out and, you know, to be raiding a building.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because theoretically, if she gets into some sort of like melee situation or like combat situation, her power isn't really like, she's pretty much screwed. You know, I guess, but maybe it speaks to you, like she needs to be able to run fast away from that. So yeah, maybe that speaks more to what you're saying. What did you think of Girls' Night Out this time? We had Dreamer and Polaris have a little aside in that episode where they're hunting down Eclipse. In this episode, they had Girls' Night Out 2, where they go to a bar and chat up the security guard at the detainment facility, and you know, plant a dream and steal a dream, I guess. or plant a memory and steal a memory. So was that something we knew Dreamer could do, like actually read memories? Because they ask her later, like, "Hey, the memory you got from the guard." Okay,
yeah, because that's how she got the plans to some other. Oh no, she found out about Dr. Campbell's program. She lifted it off of somebody, and
so why
I knew she could.
Isn't she reading Esme's memories? Like,
yeah, there's a lot of questions with that one. For one, with Dreamer and what was the cuckoo's name again?
Esme.
Esme. I think you just said Esme. Yeah, with those two, man, they could. This would be over. This would really be over.
Yes, yes.
They've got it. For one, the mutants are. I love the powers they have. The dichotomy of powers in this episode. It's really cool. It's different. They're amped up in some levels. You know, with Thunderbird, you're right. With Blink right now, it's just like useless. You know, they need to. There's something up with her though. So I don't know what it is, but yeah, I don't. The girls' night out scene was cool. And she did have the spoon wrapped around her fist.
Yes.
But that being said, I mean, I know it's a TV show, but to knock a guy out cold with a little spoon wrapped, for one, unless she's super strength, she'd probably break her fingers, and that dude wouldn't have got knocked out. Like, you know, if it was Mike Tyson, maybe. Sure. But yeah, no, I know it's TV.
The thing
but
about
it was a funny little scene, you know. I don't know.
That's the thing about this episode, though. It seems like they sacrifice logic for the purpose of a scene or a story in this specific episode. Like, I don't feel like they had done that up until this point, which is so weird. You're right. They're back from a break, but it's almost like they still are half on vacation or something, because like this felt like the laziest episode we've had, even though it had really cool moments. And like, I'm not knocking it that much because I still enjoy it. Right. But like, this did feel like they introduced things for the purpose of payoff within the episode that didn't make a ton of sense outside of it. Like, you know, the moment where they find out about the powers at the beginning, this episode with Dreamer and her going to get the guards' memories. Like, why is that like, it just seems like random that they know this guard's going to be at like at this bar by himself. And then they talk to him in the corner, even though it's his hangout, and get all this information out of him, knock him out, and walk away without anyone noticing. Like, there's just weird shit all over the place. And so, like, I'm glad at the end, Jace was like, "Oh wait, a guard called in sick at this." Like, you know, like he started to put together the lazy pieces of the writing, and that's why the lazy pieces were for him to put together. But like, it was still really frustrating.
And then letting Lorna go out when she's, I don't know, a fugitive and
pregnant
that way, and then she left the spoon on the table. I'm like, why'd she leave the spoon on the table? They're
weird.
Gonna go either Uri Geller was here or Magneto or Polaris. You know?
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of these weird little things about this episode. You know, it was a lot of like hemming and hawing for like a decently entertaining episode for me, right? Like, it was a lot of unnecessary changes for like a lot of just like acceptably fun entertainment. And that's where I think the show needs to like pick it up now. Like, it's given us that, like, move to the next level.
Yeah. Brian Smart says in our comments, hi Brian, with only 4 episodes left, they really need to push a big end game for this season. And I think they will, but I think it's going to be, God, you know, Brian, you watched Doctor Who, right? Yeah, you watched Doctor Who. It's almost like they're going to pull a Doctor Who and just stuff it all in 2 episodes at the end or something like that, which I don't want them to do. I want them to, you know, especially when you're doing an arc. This is a big arc. These aren't, you know, individual episodes. You know, it feels like it's still moving a little bit too slow, and we're going to get this big reveal at the end, and then, you know, Fox isn't going to tell if it's renewed. Although I pretty much think it is. Somebody sent me a link. Forgive me, I'm forgetting the nice commenter's name, that mentioned they're casting somebody, and I don't know why they'd be casting somebody.
Well, no, it was the Esme casting. I think they
was okay.
Casting.
They were just announcing it.
She appeared. Yeah. So that was interesting. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, oh man, bummer. It was just for casting for this season. So it's not something going into next season.
I read somewhere else that they said it looks pretty good though. So
yeah, no,
we'll see.
I think it's going to be, they've got this property, they're going to do something with it. And they've got a decent show on their hands, and there's some buzz about this. Like, I have more people asking me about The Gifted in my day-to-day life than I do about Runaways. So that's good. I think that's very promising for The Gifted. I just want them to like get out of this little zone they're in and do something like big, like just take it out of this. I felt like we'd be further along by now. And that's the other thing, is a lot happens in every episode, but it doesn't seem to move the ball forward very far. It's like a football team that like runs a lot of 2-yard plays where like a lot of interesting stuff happens in each 2-yard run, but like you need the first down, like we need like a long ball right now. We need to get toward the end zone. Like, we're still only at the 40-yard line and there's only 4 episodes left, right?
So they're playing like the Chargers were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they're playing like the Chargers. Exactly.
2-yard run up the middle. They're doing, hey, first place, tied for first place.
Yeah, it's excellent. I don't know. What more can we say about that? What else happened in this episode?
I think hey, they used powers. That I was cool with. Like, there was superhero stuff going on, and it was moving. So I actually liked this episode. It wasn't my favorite. I thought last week's was really, really good, or not last week's, week before last, the one I did with Mel. Thanks again to my wife for sitting in.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, she did a great job. So I think
I agree with you though. I'm enjoying it. I like the episodes. It's just I expect more right now.
Yeah, it's well with the budget, and you're on Fox, and supposedly Brian Singer's producing, and Matt Nix is this badass. I there's some improvement that needs to happen, and I think it will. I think it actually will. And it's the show's getting well received. I was digging around, and there's good reviews, and people are pretty positive about it. So I haven't gone on a Reddit yet, which is the truth. But
what do you think about Chase? Jace. Sorry, Runaway Chase.
Chase. I like Jace as a bad guy, and you can totally tell he's going to be a good guy. Yeah. So yeah, Campbell's going to come back and be like a super villain. He's going to be all messed up and burnt. And the guy, I can't remember the actor's name, but that guy always plays bad guys, and he's pretty good. So, and
Jace reminds me of like The Rock in the Fast and the Furious movies, where like he's like hunting them for a while, and then he realizes why they're doing what they're doing, and then helps them out for a while. Like, I can totally see the exact same thing. Jace is The Rock. Right?
He looks like early 2000s post the first wrestling retirement before the massive steroid explosion that is The Rock now. He does no, and he's a good actor, and I like how he's not just one dimensional, he's two-dimensional. I mean, there's not three, but he's two-dimensional bad guy. So
fourth dimensional bad guy,
bad guy, and chess
in a TARDIS.
I'm excited for next week. I'm looking forward to it. Now that I've done a back-to-back podcast, we can do it. I've got plenty of energy. Yeah, it is totally doable, and I'll be doing it again on Wednesday. So yay.
Awesome. Yay. Yeah, no, I just definitely I'll wake up later next time, so I'm more organized when it comes to these on Monday nights. But we've only got to talk about our
Patreon real quick here.
Yeah, Gary's been working hard to set up our Patreon. We finally have our tiers set up. So head over to patreon.com/nerdrotic. Do you want to talk about what's in each tier, Gary?
I will. Let me
way Patreon, while you pull it up, the way Patreon works is you guys, as our supporters, can pledge us a monthly pledge, essentially. And at $200 of monthly pledges from you, we will do a patron-only podcast twice a month. Where we'll answer your questions. You might be able to come on. We'll figure that out when we hit, as we get closer to the goal. But in the meantime, there are tiers for you guys. There's a $1 tier, a $10 tier, and a $15 tier. You want to go through what's in each one, Gare?
Yeah, and I just want to preface by, like, I know we're still a little station, and we jumped on this a little. We were planning on doing it right about now, and we're actually a little bit ahead of our goal with subs, which is cool. And yes, we did have a goal. But we've only been like hardcore doing this YouTube thing for a year now. So, and it's worked out pretty good. So our tiers are, and I know we're not the first one to see this, but our dollar tiers, I'll buy that for $1. And if you throw us a buck, you basically get mentioned every podcast for liking us. You have our undying gratitude. You also can put in requests for podcasts, and if there's only a few in there, all of your requests are going to get picked up. And we will do a Patreon only podcast based on your suggestion. And yeah, you could even join us at that point. For the $5 tier, I used to own a comic store. I might have mentioned it. I don't know, pretty much every podcast. It's called the Comic Outpost in San Francisco. It was. And I had some Comic Outpost variants that we had over the years. Amazing Spider-Man 66, Spider-Man #1, or 666, Spider-Man #1, and Avengers Assembled #1, and they're all exclusive to my store. Now, the story that I didn't put on the Patreon behind these is most of these got destroyed in a horrible sewage pipe accident. So there's not many of them left. Some of these are going on eBay for $20, $30, $40. For $5 a month, you will get 3 of these, and I will also throw in 3 mystery comic books. If you stay with us for we'll give you 2 of these a month, or not a month, a year. Every 6 months I'll give you like 6 more mystery comics. And on the third tier, sorry, we won't do this every podcast, we're just announcing it this week. On the third tier, it's $15, and it's the What's in the box, and it's basically a loot crate. So you're going to get everything from the first 2 tiers, and also an additional 4 to 5 mystery comics and 4 to 5 mystery toy or action figures / collectibles. Now, they're going to be a mixture of new stuff and some stuff, vintage stuff, like stuff that's behind me, right? Oh, you can't see it because the picture's up, but you see all those toys behind me. I've got so much more. So yeah, this helps fund our website, mics. We're getting a broadcasting program. It's kind of expensive, but it makes stuff look really cool and slick. And then we can be live on YouTube and Facebook and Periscope and everything all at once, which would be rad, which we're looking forward to, and that's next year. So yeah, those are our tiers. It's patreon.com/nerdrotic. Please check it out.
Yes, and obviously I just want to point this out. Anything that's specifically named in those is while supplies last, but if you don't get that, you will get something of equal value in the box.
Yeah.
So like those variants, if you're like the 20th person to sign up at whatever at the $10 rate, they may be out at that point, but we'll get you something. We'll get you a cool comic.
Well, I've actually limited those tiers to the amount of comics we have, and what we'll do is we'll invent another tier and add some more comics. Awesome. I've got like signed books, and
so get at those tiers, man. Like you want that $10 tier right now while those variants exist, because who knows when that comes, it'll be. So rush, do that one.
Cool. So
awesome. And the rest of our links will be in the show notes. Please, our Facebook is always up there for you guys, facebook.com/nerdrotic podcast. You can head over to www.nerdrotic.com. And please subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to us on the iTunes podcast app and SoundCloud. All this stuff helps us a lot. Right now, if you search like Mr. Robot Review or Star Trek Discovery Review in YouTube, we'll show up, pretty high because of all you guys sharing and subscribing and stuff like that. And we're one of the few long form that shows up in those review searches pretty high. So it's more of a testament to you guys than we like what we do. We have fun with it, but the support you guys have given us in the last few months, especially, has been really great. So keep it up. And we're just looking to integrate more with you guys, interact more with you guys as fans, and get more input from those that support us the most. So.
Oh, Gary, when will we see your cameo in Happy and see you getting stabbed in the eye? I'm still waiting for my phone to ring. I actually, Derek Robertson will be joining us next week. It is confirmed. I'm hoping it will be live. He said he was down for that. And if it's live, then we could do a Q&A. If it's not, it'll be taped. But please email me questions or anything, but I'm really cross your fingers for the live. The only reason he's not doing this week is, it's Happy's premiering. He's a little busy with all that premiere stuff.
But for the second episode, we'll have the artist from the comic book.
Yeah, and I get stabbed in the second issue. So
yeah, we'll recreate it. We'll have Derek stab you in the eye.
Oh, that'd be great!
Live during the next the second podcast.
Yeah. If it gets us views and subscribers, I'm in.
Yeah, stay tuned, guys. We'll see what happens. It could go anywhere.
And I will email you, Brian. I got your comment there.
So yeah, outfoX. let's just hope the name of the next episode is better. I think it's good stuff. So stay tuned for The Gifted next week. Runaways as well. If you guys aren't watching it, you should. If you like The Gifted, you'll probably like Runaways maybe even more. So check it out. Yeah. And Gary, you're doing another back-to-back on Wednesday with Happy and Mr. Robot, right? That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, but then Friday night, last thing we're gonna pump here is I really love this. We do this Friday night live kind of chat podcast, and it's based on our news podcast where we just talk about everything, every TV, movies, and everything. But it's interactive. We take topics from you guys and done it for the last 2 weeks and had a blast. So yeah, Friday night,
I was supposed to join Friday. I was really bummed. I got sick, like pretty sick, so I couldn't make it on Friday, but I'm doing a lot better, and I really hope I can kind of hold it up throughout this week and join you guys, because that's one that I think, we kind of go off on tangents a lot when we talk about these episodes about like the making of, because all of our backgrounds is from a creative perspective or creator perspective.
Yep.
So I think that's a podcast that's really fun to actually specifically talk about that stuff, like what's going on behind the scenes, what do we think is happening, what do we think is going to happen with all of these news stories. It's just more of a theoretical discussion that can get a lot more, can be a lot more fun. So yeah, I can't wait to join you guys Friday. Hopefully I'm able to this week.
I think Dennis smiled during
Whoa,
that. Yeah,
cracked a smile about
and chuckled. Yeah,
that's crazy. I can't even believe something like that.
I screenshotted it. All right,
material.
Let's get out of here. I got to work tomorrow. Everybody, thanks for watching, and may the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. See you next week or sooner, we hope. Subscribe, like,
please, bell,
follow,
Patreon,
ding,
follow, Twitter.
Yay.